here with Kandia Haynesworth Designs, and I am in the official classroom for the Sew and Show workshops. Today I am doing presentation tip number 3 after posing the question to the group embroidery boss on Facebook. 2 quick questions. The first question was, how much would you sell this set for? And the second question was, how would you package it for delivery to the customer? Well, if the question was posed to me, my answers would be quite simple. I would not just sell this set to the customer. I would upsell them. And number 2, here's how I would package it. I would upsell the customer and present the following elements in the presentation, such as a cookie sheet, measuring spoons, a turner, some kind of mix such as a brownie mix or cookie mix, wrapped in a pretty bow with a floral element, and it would look something like this. It would be packed and presented nice and neatly, yet with a professional wow factor. I would use the cookie sheet as a base and layer the pot holder with the embroidery displayed under the turner, measuring spoons, and cookie mix. The second personalized item would be displayed under a pretty layered ribbon with a floral element. I would make sure the gift set is solid and secure for shipping, but most importantly, in ready-to-give fashion once it arrives to the customer. So if you was to turn this over, nothing is going to fall out because it has been presented nice and neatly, yet professionally and securely. Here's how I would do it. Here are the most important tools that you're going to use to achieve that look. A double back foam tape, a pair of scissors, and a strong adhesive packing tape. You don't want to go cheap with your packing tape, otherwise it will fall apart on you. This is going to be the most crucial part of securing all your items without seeing the tape visibly. Before you permanently tape this down together, you want to dry fit all the items just so you can get an idea of what you're doing. So remember, we're using the cookie pan as the base. And then we're layering the first embroidered item, which is the pot holder, followed by the turner, followed by the measuring spoons, followed by the cookie mix or the fudge brownie mix, finally layered with the final embroidered item. So this will give you an idea of how you're putting this whole thing together. And then you can also dry fit the ribbon just to see if you like the ribbon color up against the items. You can test out flowers at this point and see which one you like, either one or not even the other. But now is the time to test drive this look overall before finalizing the tape down with your strong adhesive tapes that you're going to be using. Let's do the real thing. Okay, so first I'm going to start out by layering this double-sided foam tape. So I know that I want to put the first pot holder right here. So I'm going to make sure that this double-sided foam tape is going to be along the edges like so. And this stuff is very strong and it's double-sided, so it sticks very well and it holds down the items very nicely onto this metal pan without damaging it. So when the customer actually gets it, it will not be ruined. This simply comes off with soap and water, so it's not a headache or a pain in the rear to clean up. Before you move on to the next item, you want to really make sure that it's adhering. And what I like to do is I like to constantly tilt it over just to make sure that everything is nice and secure. So by the time you get to the last item, you will be pretty confident that these items are not going anywhere en route to your customer. Next, you want to continue with your foam tape by placing it where you know the next item is going to be. But you just have to make sure that the tapes are out of sight. So this is going to be right here, but I also need to put some on the back here. Okay, so I've put the double back foam tape in the areas that I know is going to be covered, okay? And now I'm just going to lay it onto the pan and just press it in the areas onto the pan nice and firmly. And now, before I move on to the next item, I want to grab the other tape and I want to just secure the pot holder down in place a little bit more. Okay, and to do that, I'm going to just tape the item down like so to the pan. So even though I have that double tape, now I've just given it additional security. And remember, this is going to be over that, so you won't see that. And this is how we ensure that these items are not going absolutely nowhere. Now it's time to secure the measuring spoons. So I put it in 3 places, okay, especially where I know it's going to make contact. And now I'm just going to place it on and press it where I know that tape meets. So it would be here, here, and then behind the handles of the measuring spoons. Now I want to dry fit the cookie mix once again, just to see where I'm putting it. Okay, so I think if I put it like that, that will work out. And if I put it like this, that will work out too. And so that will give me just a little bit more room to put more tape to secure these items down. So using a good tape is very important. So once again, we are nicely securing these items down in place. And then I'm going to dry fit this once again just to make sure that that's the look that I want, because remember I had it angled before. So I just want to make sure that that's the look that I'm going for. Now, out of all the elements that's going into this presentation, your mix is going to be your most important thing. And the reason being is because it's going to be your heaviest item. And so I am using a lot of double back foam tape to make sure that this item is secure and in place. And I'm even splitting it in half so I can put it alongside the edges of the pan. Okay, because I really want to make sure that when the customer gets this item, it looks exactly the way I put it in the box. And it is ready to go from the customer's hand to the gift, the person that's receiving the gift, the recipient. So once again, I'm just going to dry fit it, but I'm not going to put it in place. So I know that it's going like that. And it's going to be nice and secure. So now it's time to really make sure that the mix is really pressed into your double back tape, but just make sure that you don't press too hard and pop open your cake mix or your brownie mix or your cookie mix. So now that I know that this is all in place, I still need to make sure that this is all secure. So I'm just going to tip it over and nothing falls apart and nothing falls over. But I just have some areas that I need to secure. Like this area and over here. Even though it didn't tip off, it could always be a little bit more secure. Alright, now it's time to put your final embroidered item. And I've already put the tape down and I'm just going to layer it like so. And then give it a good pressing. I want to make sure that it's really in there and on top of that double back tape. But then I still have it flapping here, so I'm going to put some tape here as well. And then I'm just going to go under all the areas that are not securely in place. And so I wanted you to see that I also added a piece of clear tape, that strong tape, onto the cookie mix or the brownie mix, and it is adhered to the pan. So once again, we are adhering this brownie mix or your cookie mix nice and securely because it's going to be your heaviest item in this whole presentation. So now I'm just going to literally lay the finger areas of the oven mitt and just press it down onto that tape. And it is nice and secure. Okay, now I'm just going to go over all the areas just to make sure that nothing's popping up. And then I'm just going to give it a soft tilt over just to make sure nothing falls off. And then I'm just going to go around and look at it again just to make sure that everything is in place. And now I am okay with it. And now it's time to layer it with the ribbon. So I like the ribbon the way it goes diagonally across. Then I like to put a big a flower or something right here. And I haven't decided what I would like to do, but I like that layered look. You don't have to use the layered look. I just have a personal preference. So this is a Christmas gift, so I do want to incorporate some kind of red in it. It doesn't have to be the traditional red and green, but I do want to use some kind of red. Now, this kind of gift can be given any time of the year. So if it's the fall or if it's the summer, you might want to kind of switch it up with some kind of ribbon that may work out for that time of year. But let me decide the ribbon that I want to use and then I'll be back. Okay, so I layered it first with the red ribbon and I just taped the back of it. Okay, and don't worry about that because we're going to cover that in a little bit. Alright, then I'm going to layer it with the next ribbon and I'm going to pick a creamy cream. Okay, and I just want it to go across like that. And I'm going to make sure that it's going to stop in the center or in the middle of the pan. You don't want it to stop at the edge of the pan because you won't be able to cover it. And then I'm going to layer it with a third ribbon, maybe a brown. Let's see how that will look. Something like that, like so. Okay, so now it's time to kind of finish this bow up after we've already layered all of the ribbon and secured it nice and snug and taut onto your presentation. All right, so you're going to cut 4 sets of the ribbon that you've used. So if you've only used 2 ribbons, then you're going to cut 4 sets of 2. So I used 3 ribbons here. I used the brick red, the cream, and then the brown. And you also want to have your hot glue running or plugged in at this point because you want it to be nice and hot at this point because you're going to need it. All right, so I'm gonna get that ready, and then you want to have a little piece of cardboard just to make sure that when you are inserting or applying your hot glue, it is not touching your oven mitt or your pot holder or even your towel. Whatever you are using for your presentation, you don't want it to get burned or ruined. So you want to put something underneath here to make sure that the glue does not bleed through. And actually, I'm going to place the cardboard on top opposed to under because I really want to make sure that I'm only applying the glue here, and so it's not going to bleed through because glue will never seep through here as long as I stay within this area. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do is you want to place a little bit of glue on the back of this. Okay, and remember, we're just staying in the center area, and then we're going to apply this to the ribbon here. So you just want to make sure. Okay, and of course, you have already decided that this is where you want your flower to be. All right, and I'm making sure that it's not touching, it's not bleeding through. Okay, so I got my cardboard on, and it's nice and firm now, so it's drying. But I wanted to show you that I recut the ribbon strips, okay? Before I had them at 3 different lengths, and that's just far too complicated, and we don't want to do that. Okay, so for the most part, what I like to do is create like a bow, and then place the flower in the center. Okay, and for the most part, I cut 3 ribbon strips about 8 inches, and I cut 4 sets of it. And what you want to do is layer it like so, almost mimicking what we have here, and then take a stapler, or I'm using a stapler because the red ribbon is like a velvety ribbon, and you know, if you don't adhere it or have something to secure it nicely, it will not stay. So as a matter of fact, I'm just gonna staple it like that, like so. Okay, and then I'm just gonna do this to all 4 sides, and then we will glue it to the cardboard. Okay, so once you have them all stapled together, and I stapled them, I promise you, this is the quickest way to make a bow, opposed to fold them back and forth. You cut 3 strips, 2 strips, even 1 strip of 4, and you just pretty much staple it together and done, okay? And then what you can do is dry fit it like you would do everything else, just to kind of get an idea of how your bow is going to look. And then if you don't like the way it looks, this is your time to fix it. So remember, I want it to look a little bit festive because it is a Christmas present. And then I'm just going to dry fit my my flower right there. And once again, this is the time to fix it. So if anything is not straight, like my ribbon is not straight, now is the time to fix it. Okay, so I like the way that looks. I'm just going to fix it a little bit, align it the way it's supposed to be. Excuse me. And then I'm just going to apply some glue, and then making sure that it doesn't seep through. Okay, and then just adhere them. And then after I get all of these adhered, I will apply some glue in the middle and then put the bow on. And so I've already applied some glue, and I'm just putting the last part of the bow on. And then I'll apply some glue here and then put this flower there. So for the flower, when you apply the glue, you want to give it about maybe 20 seconds to set. You don't want to just squirt the glue and apply it, otherwise it will bleed. So I'm just going to blow it. This way it sets a little bit. And then when it cools down, it still will be warm, but it will just be cooled down to the point where it won't be bleeding all over the place. I'm just going to apply it to the center. Okay, so this is the finished product, the front of it that is, but I do have one more step that I want to show you. And so if you remember the back of it, and you see I'm turning it over and nothing's falling. The back of it, we've taped all those layered ribbons, and we have to cover that. And to cover that, that's where the packing slip comes into play, because you have to have something stating what is inside of the package that someone is getting. And so this will be applied to the back, and it will be easily taken off, okay? And it just shows the contents of what is in this gift set. So as we conclude presentation tip number 3, I really want you to consider how you are presenting your services to your customers. So if I was just selling these 2 pot holders, I would have sold them for about maybe $15, $18.50 at the most. But because I added a little bit creativity, simply by adding contents, I'm able to sell it as a kit for $34.50. And then if I had sold this oven mitten and pot holder, I would have sold that set for around 20 bucks or so, simply by just putting it in a cellophane bag and adding a pretty ribbon. But because I added the same contents, I'm able to sell this set for $37.50. I also have a set where I have just 2 oven mittens, And that set goes for $39.50, and it includes all the contents as well. Okay, so instead of just going for what it goes for, invest in, the contents that will increase your sale of the item. And what would be the contents? It would be adding ribbons and other elements that are very inexpensive, but it will create a wow factor. It will create loyal customers. It will present your company well. And it will also set you aside from other embroidery business owners. And before you ask, Kandia, you are an embroidery business owner. Why are you telling us this? We are your competition. Well, you might be, but you know what? There are more customers out there in the world, people who admire what we do, than it is more of us, okay? These people don't have embroidery machines, and they really like what we do. And when we pair it together with elements that are usable in the home, it creates value. It creates value for them. It creates an increase in price for us, and we both win. So that's why if I can help another embroidery boss member, if I can help another embroidery business owner, I'm going to do it. And I would hope that you all would give me a tip for something that can help me better my business. Well, that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining in. If you like this presentation tip and you appreciated the tutorial, please give me a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and consider subscribing to my channel. You can also visit me at Embroidery Boss on Facebook or at CandiaHaynesworth.com on Facebook. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.